Afternoon, VHR. Scion here. I'm going to do a review for BlackHand Heroic, right? So we've gotten to 39% on 20 attempts at this point, our real first night of doing it. As I spoke in the Raid weekly video that I posted earlier today, we're going to be focusing on getting to BlackHand Heroic again, and then once we do, we will stay on BlackHand Heroic until we kill him. So these are the elements that I want everybody to kind of take a look at, so that way it gives us a little bit more order when it comes to each one of the phases, and everybody kind of has an idea exactly what we're doing. Now if you look at position 1, you'll see that we're going to use a clockwise motion every single time, so that way we're familiar with the motion of how we're going to go around the playing field that's available to us with the boss. Now as you see, the T represents tank, B is the boss, M is melee plus tank. You see also range and heals are going to be set up. What we're going to do is use those three colors, which is red, green, and also blue, to highlight kind of like our transitioning points of where we want to move and give us kind of like a reference of how the stage is set up. We're also going to mark one of the range DPS. Last night we did Darvel, and we'll probably continue with that or put it on other players as we see fit for movement, so that way we can always get behind. There's always going to be 3 demolition piles. So adjustments that we made involving the demolition piles is a healing cooldown for each one of them, plus putting a BOP out as we can from a paladin if available, so that way we have the healer and able to do their cast. We'll also have a rotation for Fox from the hunters, so that way each one of the demolishes that we go through, they have the movement, they're protected, and they can heal, without being encompassed in any way from their goal of trying to maximize the output of each one. We did initially a druid, and then we followed with Cortani, a shaman, and we're going to keep that rotation to some degree. We will also be having our Mistweaver join us soon, so we'll be having that as a third option. But we were rotating through 2 demolitions, and then he was smashing the floor at 70%, which brought us into phase 2. In phase 2, what we were seeing was we were consistently trying to adjust with what was going on, and just try to heal through it and see if we could just push into the next phase. And I felt like on our last attempt, for example, I hit the ground, I ended up getting caught up and getting killed, and so it gave me a good clean view of everything that was going on. And what I felt was that there was just a lot of chaos. So after watching a couple of replays through Warcraft logs, I noticed that there was a set pattern that they were kind of using. Now we're just going to use a square as a highlight on this for position 2, but we can do a circle, we can do whatever, it doesn't matter the shape. I mean, we can be as fun as we want with it. But the idea is we're going to go clockwise with it as soon as the tanks pick it up. As you can see, we have tank, we have melee, the dot represents the boss, range and heals are relatively near. And then we'll just adjust accordingly. The range that are responsible for making sure the mark for deaths are taken naturally are going to have to leave the group and come through. So we'll probably have a little bit of spread of the heals as far as on the inside of the circle perimeter, but we'll just work with that. But the tanks and the melee need to make sure that they're keeping a pretty ordered rotation as far as where they're going. And also, we need to slow down the movement. There was a lot of sporadic movement. We need to just slow it down in general. And as you see on a lot of the replays, for example, including the one that I posted earlier in the previous video, just slow it down. Mines happen, back out a little bit, put yourself where you need to be a little bit further ahead in the pattern, as far as the positioning between each one, and then let the mines get dropped down. Those that are targeted, naturally you're going to want to put them relatively in between the lines. What we're going to do is basically on like our first attempt and we get to phase 2, I'm just going to throw up 4 flags. I can't really use the colors that'll be available to us since we're already using 3 up top. We'll probably take those down and then start putting them up on the second phase, so that way everybody kind of knows where the positioning is and where we're going to be moving. We're also going to save hero a little bit further along, maybe after the second tank, so that way we have more throughput for the last push to get into phase 3, and so we can start seeing it. Now on phase 3, what I was consistently seeing in multiple replays that I viewed was a simple strategy. The red dot represents where the bombs need to be taken. So if you're marked with a bomb, for example, or whatnot, you're all going to want to go to the right. The tank is going to be at position 1, so that's where we're going to take BlackHand. If you look at it as a big circle, this is the edge of the circle, and everybody needs to be piled up relatively around the same spot, so that way when his attack comes through with his hammer and he knocks everybody back, we get knocked into the center. He's naturally going to run right towards us, so he's going to go from position 1, following the arrow to the center to wherever the other tank is that's going to be taunting him and picking him up, and then that tank's going to move him to position 2, and then we're going to repeat it. Now, the reason why I want the dots to the south is because we're going clockwise, so naturally we just want everything away from us to our south, because we're traveling to the north. And then that pattern is going to continue. So 2, we get knocked back. You want to make sure that your back is properly focused, so that way when the hit, we got a good stack and we get hit, we end up in the back there, in the middle, and then we run back to the next position. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. If we don't do it by 5, it's pretty much a wipe anyway at that point, because of throughput from the boss and the mechanics that are going to be present on the ground. So that's my breakdown of it. If you have any comments or whatnot, please add them below. And I'll see you guys for the raid tonight, and have a great day.